What is up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome back to another episode of AKP Sports Talk. It is Tuesday, August 6th. That's Ari. I'm Korea. Look, Ari, I think we got to get the brooms out sometime soon because we are almost there. We're cooking right now. We are definitely cooking. We are really on a hot streak here. Let's get into my 2-0 day yesterday. First, Diamondbacks Guardians, first five over 4.5, very sweat free. I mean, Logan Allen, look, gave up two back-to-back leadoff home runs to Gabriel Moreno and Ketel Marte to lead off there. So that was already 2-0 within, the first without even an out in the game. So that was pretty good to start there. And then the Guardians immediately responded in the bottom of the first off of Zach Allen. So, we were already at 4 after one inning. So all we just needed was one run, and the Guardians got that in the second. And, that was a pretty high-scoring game. And like I said, I even had the lean. I said I was leaning the Diamondbacks, and the Diamondbacks got the win in extras full game. So, I'll even take that as well. I was dialed yesterday. Let's just call that how it was. Diamondbacks Guardians, that was pretty sweat free there. The same for the Red Sox team total, obviously. I was just more backing them, with their offense as well. I was going to target them today, but the line's it's at 3.5 and it's at minus 140. So I was looking at it, but I was like, I don't like that 3.5. I'm just waiting for it to potentially get up to 4.5 because I think another offensive day for the Red Sox come out again. But yesterday, obviously, we just needed 5 and they got 8, obviously, and more. So that was definitely a sweat-free winner as well. We're just backing their offense against right-handed pitching. They did start out a little slow, but their offense really started to cook, obviously, in those 4th, 5th, and 6th innings. That's usually when offenses trying to start to cook, after their first couple appearances against, the starting pitchers. So 2-0 day, we'll definitely take that sweat-free day. I love it. 2-0 day. Ari, how'd you do yesterday?
Yep, 2-0 for me as well. Definitely a little more sweaty than your two plays. Starting off with the Rangers, which is the most sweaty. It was like I talked about the over, but I didn't like it at all. Like I talked about the over because of their familiarity with the starting pitchers, but with how just bad the lineups have been as of late, I did not play the over, and I just went with the Rangers, and it was low scoring, close throughout the game, and then it was 1-1 going to the 8th. Houston got one on like a fluky bases loaded infield single to third where it was thrown home and it was like just late. And then 2 outs, bottom 8, Corey Seager, legacy solo home run to tie it at 2-2. Scoreless 9th, goes to extra innings. Kirby Yates is on for a second inning. He strikes out Bregman, and then they intentionally walk Jordan. So it's first and second, 1 out. And then he hits back-to-back hitters that made it 3-2. And at that point, basically the 1 out, I think they're going to add in, they're going to add on maybe one more, and it's probably over. But Kirby Yates gets out of it otherwise, and it's 3-2. And then just 2 outs, and then I think it was right, Josh Smith. It was Josh Smith, 2-out home run to walk it off. So obviously that was huge for the Rangers, just for their season, like in general. So that was a good one. And then the Dodgers, they go down 2-0 early, but then they score 4. They score 4 in the third, capped off with a 2-run home run by Teoscar, and they get 4-2. And then there was a pitcher's duel after that. Phillies get 1 back, and I think it was the 6th, and I was sweating that entire game. And then Shohei gets an insurance run in the bottom of the 8th with the home run to make it 5-3. And so I'm feeling pretty good at that point. And then Castellanos opens 9th with a single, and then I'm like, oh no. But then somehow, some way, the next 3 hitters all swung at the first pitch and they all popped up like, second, third, short, like popped up a weak pop up, and so that's how the Dodgers won. So obviously my 2 plays were a lot more sweaty than yours were, but still take the 2-0 day nonetheless.
I'm about to say, yeah, it does. I mean, at the end of the day, we'll always take just the 2 winners, even if they, are making you sweat your ass off, or they're just like sweat free like mine. But obviously, get the brooms out 4-0 day. We love to keep continuing this momentum.
We're 9-1 together so far in August, so we'll have to keep it going.
I'm about to say, yeah, 9-1 on our last 10 to start out the month. We're just cooking right now. We're gonna keep this momentum train rolling. as we get closer to the football season. But obviously, baseball on the card as well today. We got 2 plays for me. First we're going to go to Toronto, take that Orioles Blue Jays first 5 over 4.5. Right now it's about -110. Look, I'm just backing runs here. We look at the pitching matchup. It's Grayson Rodriguez, who has had, some good starts recently, but we always talk about Grayson Rodriguez on the road. He tends to struggle a little bit. And we got Chris Bassett on the other side for the Toronto Blue Jays. We look at Gray Rod. He's still allowing runs. Even though he's not getting to about the fifth, or he's getting to about maybe the 5th or 6th inning. His last few starts, at Texas, he struck out 8, but 6 innings, two earned runs, 5 innings, 2 runs against the Padres. Last time this matchup happened 6 days ago at home. And he went 6 innings, 8 Ks, allowed 3 runs to the Toronto Blue Jays. So, it's always, what you always like to tail them, or backing over the second time they faced them, because they just faced them last time. So, and they obviously, the recency bias, they know what his pitches are, and they know how to hit him. And obviously, one of the hotter hitters right now in all of baseball, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., he's 5 for 14 against him. He does have a homer against him as well. So, it takes, obviously today's Dinger Tuesday. So, if you want to tail one, I also kind of like Vladimir Guerrero, but I'm just more back in the bats here. Obviously, we also talk about the hot hitters right now. I mentioned Vladimir Guerrero. On the other side, Gunnar Henderson, one of the hottest hitters right now in baseball. He's 4 for 7 against Chris Bassett with 2 homers. So that's another Dinger Tuesday play right there potentially. I'm just more backing runs through the first 5 here. I know both of these pitchers, obviously, they just faced each other, not that long ago. With Grayson Rodriguez, he allowing 3 runs at home, and then Bassett, he got torched. He allowed 5 runs, through 4 innings on the road. So, if it can pretty much just be a repeat of how it was, just about a week ago, literally almost a week ago to the day, I think this first 5 over 4.5 is probably going to be pretty sweat-free once again. Just tailing runs through the first 5 after we just got this matchup a week ago. Last time it was in Baltimore, now in Toronto. I'm just taking the Orioles Blue Jays first 5 over 4.5, getting that out -110. And then we're going to the lowest total I've ever seen, but I didn't like the Nerfy because it's already in the 200 range, and the full game total is 6. And I know the Cubs bullpen's going to sell. So we're going to do the Nerf 3. I'm calling Ari's play now the Nerf 3, not the Nerfy, the Nerf 3. And we're just taking the Nerfy for 3 innings here. Take Twins Cubs first 3 under 1.5. We're getting somehow an even money, how a +100. I thought it was going to be, in the -110 range, but the fact that it's still a plus money, add some plus money, get it while you can. The fact that first off, the reason this total is super low is obviously because of the wind. Obviously, with I think 21 mile per hour winds coming inside the stadium. So, when it's a windy game, 1 at Wrigley, and 2 when it's over like 25 miles per hour, the bats aren't going to be alive at all. So, and obviously the 2 pitchers on the mound, you have Imanaga starting for the Cubs, and the Twins struggle against the lefties, 1, and then 2, Imanaga usually a lot better at home, and we just need him to get through the first, pretty much the lineup with no real damage essentially. And then on the other side for the Twins is Pablo Lopez. And look, the Cubs offense is so weird. They're inconsistent. They look good in some games, and then other games they don't know how to show up. Yesterday, their offense did not show up, didn't even score a single run. I don't know how David Festa cooked them. If you're getting cooked by David Festa, it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough for you. But especially in this matchup, Pablo Lopez does have some good splits against some of these hitters for the Cubs. We look at Ian Happ, 2 for 8 lifetime against him. Seiya doesn't have a hit against him. Somehow Nico Horner, perfect 3 for 3 against him, but that's only the real guy in this lineup who has some good experience against Pablo Lopez and some good experience as well. So I'm just more backing the fact that both of these teams kind of struggle with all the factors, the weather, everything, the pitching matchup, obviously the Nerfy being so high, with also the first 5 under being super juice as well. I'm just targeting the first 3 here. One of Ari's played the first 3 under 1.5, just essentially backing both pitchers just to get through the full lineup, with no damage. And I think today is a great look for that, especially now we're still getting it at plus money. Those are my 2 plays today. The Orioles Blue Jays first 5 over 4.5. We just got this game a week ago. Essentially, it was Chris Bassett got torched. He allowed 5 runs through 4 innings, and Grayson Rodriguez allowed a couple runs. So, that 5 plus 2 is 7. That's over 4.5 if you can count that. And then the Twins and Cubs, obviously that under is super, super low. Obviously, with I think right now I think the over under is at 6 still. So obviously
it was at 5.5 at one point, which is like crazy.
Yeah, it opened up at 5.5, obviously, but that's just insane for a baseball total. So with the full game over under being super low and obviously the nerf fee being super juice, I just wanted to target, the first 3. I knew these lineups were going to struggle coming out the gate here. So I'm just tailing that one more time. First 3 under 1.5 in Wrigley between the Twins and Cubs. Those are my 2 plays today, trying to keep that momentum train rolling. Ari, look, we had a 4-0 sweep yesterday. We got to get another one today. How are you looking? What have you cooked up for this Tuesday?
Yep, 2 plays for me. Going back to the Rangers, but just the first 5. I don't want to mess with the bullpen, especially with Kirby Yates pitching 2 innings yesterday. This is more so a line play, I would say. I mean, you have Framber Valdez going up against Molly, who's making a season debut, coming back from Tommy John surgery. And full game wise, the Astros are only minus 118, which you would think Framber against I'm making a season debut would be at least like minus 130, minus 140. You would think. And then the last 30 days, Rangers have been on fire against lefties. They're hitting .313 with 6 home runs against lefties the last 30 days, and that's on 128 at bats. So a pretty big sample size last 30 days against lefties, and the Rangers have been hitting well against them. Valdez is really, really up and down. Although some starts where it looks like a Cy Young, no hitter or whatever, and then some starts where he gets, hit up pretty hard. And he's coming off a start where he got hit decently against the Pirates, 4 runs over 6 innings. And Molly looked, pretty good in his re-up start. Obviously, it's minor leagues, but still, he still want to at least look good against them, and not get hit hard. So it's partially a line play, partially, fading Valdez with the Rangers hitting well against lefties the last month or so, like I was saying. So that's my first play. Again, just first 5 because I don't want to mess with the bullpens after last night's extra inning game where, both Hader and Presley pitched for the Astros, but they only went 1 inning, so they could still be available. Whereas Kirby Yates for Texas went 2 innings, so he's for sure not available or, more than likely not available. So just going the first 5 ML for the Rangers. And it's another one where it's even minus 110 both ways, first 5, whereas, Houston's slight favorite full game. So that's, a little bit telling if you want to call it that as well. So just going with the Rangers first 5 and then going to the Giants at Washington. It's Hayden Burnsong, who's, I think he's a rookie. He just got called back up. They sent him back down after he threw a shot against Colorado, but then when they traded Alex Cobb, they called him back up. Going up against Mackenzie Gore, who's kind of been hit up hard, at least his last handful of starts in July. And his 6 starts in July, he had an ERA of almost 8. And then Birdsong has been really good. 5 starts in July, 25 and 2/3 innings, 2.45 ERA. 2 was against the Rockies, so you can take that how you want, but he pitched well against the Guardians and Braves too, and then the Twins. So, not the best competition, but again, we've talked about the Nationals and their lineup just in general is not good either, to say the least. And then I'm going full game here because I also want to fade the Nationals bullpen. Kyle Finnegan's been good, but overall, I like the Giants bullpen more as well. So, backing backing, what I would call the better starter, better bullpen, and better lineup. Full game with the Giants at a pretty good line. You could say that the line is short too for the Giants as well, minus 120. But I still think that Birdsong is kind of unknown overall, just because he's only made 6 starts, so he's still an unknown. So he wouldn't get a ton of respect in the line, quite yet at least. So, 2 plays: Rangers first 5 ML, and then Giants full game ML for me today.
You mentioned the Giants and, just the fact that Birdsong's not getting that much respect. Obviously, just, you mentioned just because, he hasn't really faced, a lot of, formidable lineups, as you said. He's faced the Rockies twice, and he's looked good against them, but, it's the Rockies, so you got to take that as you will. One of the, I think one of the worst teams, in the league against right-handed pitching. And then, I mean, he pitched well, obviously, against the Guardians as well, in the Twins. But you mentioned, this is the Nationals. The Nationals lineup is not, nothing too scary, I'd say, as well this year, with how much they've struggled as well. And you mentioned Mackenzie Gore and how he had a really rough July. His splits have not been really good, ERA up in the eights, and just, not really finding, the strike, not really finding location, just allowing hit after hit after hit, runs to come across the board, so kind of almost like his teammate Patrick Corbin did with that triple-double. So you mentioned the Giants not really getting much line respect just because, Birdsong is still an unknown name. So I think that's a good play for you with a short, respectable line for the Giants, at about -120. Then you mentioned the Rangers' first five, even though Tyler Mahle, that's a name I haven't heard in years. I thought he disappeared off the face of the earth, for God's sakes. But obviously the last time we saw him was in Minnesota before he had obviously Tommy John surgery. Now as a member of the Texas Rangers, making his season debut. You mentioned, he had some pretty good starts, down in AAA for them. But, the one thing about taking a guy making his start after a long time, he probably will have a little bit of a short leash. So, we don't know how long he'll go. He may go a few innings, maybe that's 4 or 5. But, like you said, you're more just backing, Framber Valdez on the road, who has struggled a lot, against a team that really knows him very well. The Houston Astros obviously have good history against the Texas Rangers as division rivals, and that whole Texas lineup you mentioned. Last night was kind of their backs against the wall. I expect this lineup to kind of show out against Framber Valdez today. Guys like Corey Seager, have been hitting the ball, starting to hit the ball really well. After all the miracle last night with how Josh Smith kind of obviously walked them off, not really targeting any of the bullpens, obviously, with how messy that was yesterday, just targeting the first five and, backing the Rangers just to get out to a lead here through the first five. I do love those two plays for you as we can look to continue our winning streak here. Ari's two plays, those are my two plays. Twins, Cubs, first three under 1.5, and then the Orioles, Jays, first five over 4.5. You can find both of those plays and Ari's plays on our Twitter below, AKP Sports Talk. We will have our full card and video posted momentarily. That's going to do it for this episode. Of course, we appreciate you guys for tuning in. That is Ari. I'm Kriya. We'll be back tomorrow for another episode of Best Bets. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Win some money, and we will see you guys tomorrow.